just turn up your radio wherever you at. We about to bring it.
Okay, welcome back to the Living Color podcast slash show slash whatever you want to call it. It's good to be back here for the second episode. My name is Matt Woodward, and in a week it's kind of crazy how much can change really, and I think now more than ever you really see that as true. It's by the day I feel like just even watching like a little bit of these briefings and press conferences, I even tune in for like a minute or two, and I almost have to turn it off because I don't even know where they're at right now with some of this stuff. Well, the way they're some of these questions and the way that they answer them and how they're trying to like spin it in a certain way and make it sound like they're doing a great with I don't know. Yeah, it's a whole crazy topic, and then to see that there's, I think the one today says Wednesday, the 8th, I believe, April 8th, yeah, and just to see the one today where they're like trying to get people back to work, and like that was the one I was saying last week, and that they need to, something's gonna happen where these jobs, they can't be out for too long, but at the same time you can't rush something that you don't know really, especially like a pandemic, obviously, something like this. And so to see him talk about it today, and it's gonna be interesting. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to like I'm in Colorado right now, and it's a statewide mandate where you got to, if you're going out in public, I don't think it's required right now, but I think it's like recommended to wear a mask or like handkerchief or anything really at this point, covering your nose and your mouth, and just so you even see it in most of the businesses you go in. It's kind of like at the point where if you're not wearing one, you kind of get like weird looks and people kind of like trying to steer clear of you and all that. But yeah, it is a wild time, and so much can change in just a week. But it's taken me a week even just to get on this second episode, but I'm still trying to work out the kinks, obviously. I'm kind of filming in here in the backyard. I think I got like the neighbors over there, and I mean they're kind of like a ways away. I'd say almost 2 football fields away, so it's quite a distance. Then you obviously get the view of the valley a little bit there, and so I'm kind of figuring out the setup right now. I think it's either I was trying to figure out like the lighting and a whole bunch of things, like how I want to have like a whole kind of like set design really, and it's taken me a while to, like I said in the first podcast / show. I might roll with show more than, a podcast is a show at this point. Podcast is really sort of one of the, dominant mediums in media right now, and so I just don't want to label things too much really about, podcast or show, or label it this or that, but yeah, this just trying to figure out the setup and just trying to eventually, finally get this thing started. Took a while. When I went to college back in I started in 2011 as a freshman, and then did actually 5 years to this super senior year, which I at Castleton University, which I don't regret at all. I had to, I was a few credits short of graduating as a 4 years straight as a senior, and so I was like, do I just go back for one semester, or do I go back for the full year? And I eventually decided to do the full year, and so when I was studying broadcast media, as I mentioned in the first show, that you it's kind of such a wide field that there's so many things you can get into that even just this was in 2011 when I was a freshman. Just kind of, I originally wanted to get into as like a on-air host and an anchor for a show, but it's limited in certain fields. Like, in news, it's limited where you can either anchor, you can be a sports, you can be the main anchor, you can be like a field reporter, a porter, sports reporter, meteorologist. So it's varying, but it's limited in what you can like talk about. You can't just talk about whatever you want, obviously. So that was kind of around the time when podcasts started getting started, about like 2010, 2011, when it was kind of like an extension of radio, of being able to, say what you want, feel what you want, do what you want. And, you look at people like Howard Stern and Opie and Anthony and like those shows, like those radio shows where they're doing, it's more than radio. It's not just talking about like daily subjects. It's a whole program. It's a whole show. It's almost kind of like a version of a lifestyle for a show, and that's really what I was trying to think, how could I be unique? How could I be different from everyone? And there's so many, genres and so many, like a variety of shows that how could I get started? And it took me even up until this point, almost a pandemic, But yeah, I'm still like trying to get comfortable with it. Like, obviously, I'm in my fucking backyard. I don't mean to swear, but I'm in my backyard here. And that's one thing. Like, even just getting comfortable, like swearing, like talking about anything, like stories, anything really. That's something that you just gotta kind of embrace, and that's what makes it fun, I think, and that's what kind of draws the viewer in. So, what's gonna happen, and that's kind of like one of the main reasons why I'm doing it. It's because you can do what you want, say what you want, and I'm excited to start. This is only the second episode here, so just trying to make sure everything's still going. Like I said, I'm working out the kinks here. You see this? Like, it's a whole setup I have going here. Look at this. I'm not shooting on really an HD camera, This microphone setup it's all just like, it's kind of thrown together, but I need to start it at some point, this is April, I'm about to be 27 in May here, so it's about time, and I'm excited to start doing it. I'm not really, I'm not trying to set any of my expectations too high with anything, really. I mean, that speaks for a lot of things right now, as, not to say that my love life isn't anything at this point, I've been single for forever, and, I don't have a problem with it, but, at a certain point, I think, I don't know. When you go through like a pandemic, I kind of wonder about how people in relationships are handling it, really, It's kind of like, I feel like it'd be great, but then obviously you have days where, you gotta work through it, but at a certain point I feel like that makes it better, right? Like, that you gotta makes it stronger, I guess, but yeah, it's a crazy time to be single in a pandemic, that's for damn sure. Like, you can never you can't plan this one any better, right? But I don't know, man. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to have like the second episode here going. I know the sun's kind of going down. That's kind of why I'm doing this here in the backyard. The lighting's not bad, Still trying to, like, as I said, work on the setup, and when the sun gives you the free light, you gotta take in the beautiful Colorado sun, going over the Rockies there, and over the foothills, I should say, of the Rockies. But yeah, I'm just I'm seeing all these ideas being floated around recently. In the past week, since I even done the first show, about how the MLB. Oh, see, here we go, bumping the stand here. Uh, I see how the MLB is thinking about having just teams play in Arizona, and kind of quarantining all 30 teams. I believe it's 30 teams, 32 teams. Uh, I believe they're gonna quarantine the teams and isolate them, uh, but not have like their families for. I believe they were thinking the duration of the season. So that's an interesting. That's an interesting idea that's thrown out there. I don't know how that's gonna be. I don't know how that's gonna be well received by the players. I saw something on the Pat McAfee show. Shout out to Pat McAfee. Great new YouTube show. I wouldn't even say new at this point. He's been doing it for a couple of years, and he's dominating right now more than ever. I saw that I believe, talked to someone linked to the or linked to the MLB. Or he quoted Jeff Passan, who talked. I can't remember. You can't quote me, obviously, but I believe it was Jeff Passan who talked to an MLB player, who said initially that he was not, or that he was not down. He would not be willing to go play in Arizona for the duration of the season. Just because he wouldn't want to be from his family for that long. He wouldn't want to. Whatever the multitude of reasons, and then I guess maybe a day later or two, he had a conversation with his wife, and his wife was like, "You gotta do what you gotta do to provide for the family," and he kind of changed his tune a little bit, and I'm assuming that would be something that some players. Yeah, I'm curious just to see how it's going to be received by players. I'm sure that some players will kind of fall along with that. They'll originally be like, I'm not, I don't know how I feel about playing for months in Arizona, being isolated like that, and then I'm sure that their significant other, I'm sure, will kind of get in their ear a little bit and be like, hey, you got to do whatever it takes, and their minds may change a little bit, but at the same time, I think that's going to kind of require for the MLB to change a little bit, and it's been years in the making, and they've been kind of behind the eight ball on that one, as is kind of duly noted at this point. It's kind of sad to see how far that I wouldn't say it's. They've fallen off too, drastically. They're still a popular sport in America, but, I think, they're kind of on their back foot at this point, really. They're struggling to catch up on the social game, obviously. They have these copyright laws, excuse me. They have these copyright laws where, you can't really post their content online because it's, MLB copyrighted, and there's some things that they really have to figure out. And I think one thing that they kind of, one change that you saw that they implemented, and it's kind of something that they could have done years ago, but it's kind of nice to see that they're finally doing it, and it could be implemented for a long time, is the players on the field mic'd up. I think that's a great thing. Obviously at certain points where in critical situations, or not even critical situations, there are plays that happen in the beginning of a game that matter. If you play baseball or you just follow along with baseball, just even like the little plays matter. But yeah, I think having the players mic'd up is a great thing, because it kind of gives a little insight into what the players are thinking. It gives a little more. It adds a little more for the fans, and I think that's needed in a game of baseball where, you do have times where you're just kind of sitting around, and you just wait pitch by pitch. It can drag, especially it's one thing if you're in the stadium. I think it's kind of. I think it's a shared opinion that, it's one thing to go to a baseball game at the stadium, but I think it's another thing to watch the game on TV. Now, if you're like me, personally speaking, this is just for me. I played baseball like growing up, so it's one thing I love watching baseball on TV. If you're asking me to watch the Marlins and pick any team, I don't not to single out the Marlins or anything, but just any team like that. Any team that I don't really have a remote interest in. Two teams, I don't know if I'm gonna watch that game, but the same can't really be said for football or even NBA at this point. NBA has games where there's two teams on in a night, and I'll watch the game even if I don't give a damn who's playing. But baseball, that's one thing they're trying to figure out, and to see them try to get these games in Arizona in the coming months, and it's gonna take a lot. And one thing that I've been reading and kind of hearing from like the media members, I should say, is I think it is kind of there's a weird, it's a big discussion and kind of like a weird one that hasn't been had in a long time, maybe if ever. I think sports are, they're needed right now, and I believe it was Max Kellerman on First Take, who was saying, I think he was quoting Franklin Delano Roosevelt, President of the United States, one of the former president back in the day, and he was saying that sports are needed in a time of crisis like this, because it gives the people a form of entertainment, and gives them kind of not only distracts them, but it can give them some joy, bring them some happiness, but at the same time, I think we're in a time where there's such a limited amount of tests. I know that's improved since I last did my show last week. I'm assuming it's improved because they've been trying at this, but I if it's not, it is a bad look to have a professional sports league where you have 30 to 32 teams, whatever it is, and give or take 25 men on a roster, and then you have the medical and personnel, and you have the managers and the staff, pitching coaches, hitting coach, all that, the essential personnel on the team. You have all those people getting tests, right? But you don't have people from the general public who can, just go out and get tests, who are like really sick and who might need it, especially in some of these vulnerable categories that they talk about. So it's a weird scenario, and then you see, it's kind of like it brings you to another thing that's going on in the sports world, in the same sort of situation as Dana White, the UFC president. I believe he's still a UFC president. I know he sold it with I believe what's his name? Tillman Fertitas, I believe. Tillman Fertitta. I'm not sure if it was Fertitas, but don't quote me on that. But yeah, you just see Dana White, where he's looking for international fights. He's looking to I'm not sure if it's either buy a private island or lease a private, I believe it's buy a private island, and just have international fights there, and then just fly the fighters in, have them tested, and he's not giving a location on it. He's not really telling the media where it might be at, and I think I have respect. I do respect, and I have respect for Dana, and I do believe he is walking a fine line though. With this, I think he's in sort of, I don't want to say like an easier situation than a league like the Major League Baseball, because it's one thing where baseball, is a lot of players on the field at one time, and you have a lot of players, and you have a lot of staff, but with fighting, you're actually, exchanging, exchanging blows and punches and bodily fluids, everything with fighters and in such a small space. And it is one thing if they can get them tested. That's one thing. It does require less testing, but at the same time, if it kind of brings up that same. I don't know if it's a ethical question, but what do you do? He's going full steam ahead, having that fight on I believe April 18th. He's going full steam ahead. Tony Ferguson versus Gaethje. Since Habib Nurmagomedov is back in Dagestan, his homeland there. He's out of the fight he isn't out of the fight for the 5th time, but the fight in general is canceled for the 5th time. And obviously it's one of the more anticipated fights in UFC that people can remember. And I'm just like a kind of a casual follower at the UFC. It's sort of a wild. It is a wild sport. It's it's so hard to. It's hard to really describe what you're seeing. It takes a different type of human being to enter a cage like that. Pretty much in your, almost your underwear. You know what I mean? Just like these tiny shorts in an arena like that, and enter a cage and hear him close that cage door behind you with another man or woman, across from you, and you're pretty much fighting to rip their head off. That is it's a whole. You can't even believe it. You can't even describe it. Some of the fights you see, and that's what makes it so great at times. But at a certain point, I'm not really big into violence like that, so it is tough for me to watch at times. I can't really take blood like that. I can to a certain point, but once it gets all over the mat and it's, splattered like that, I can't really take it. It is a lot, but Dana White, he's full steam ahead. He's doing April 18th or 19th there. I believe it's 18th. That's next Saturday. Yep, April 18th. He's full steam ahead, and he was on Get Up this morning with Mike Greenberg, Greeny. And Greeny was trying to get it out of him. He's trying to get a location because Dana hasn't released it to the media yet. And Dana was just like, all I can tell you, it's on ESPN. And then, Greeny, of course, kept trying to get the answer out of him. And Dana was just like, ESPN, pay-per-view, ESPN Plus, that's it. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. It's a weird time. It's kind of... It's not a money grab, I don't think, at this point, obviously, and it wasn't before. I think it was just one of those things where... Sorry, I keep looking over here. There's so many fucking bunnies around here that's like... You just look around, they're everywhere. And even just over here, there's 4 of them off camera. Not only that, there's a whole other thing off camera over here. I can't even describe it. I haven't obviously touched it. There's coyote bones. I'll try to get a video of it over here. There's a coyote skull or bone and carcass. I don't even know. It's carcass from last summer that is just down to the bones. And it looks like something out of a museum or something. It's crazy. I'll try to get a video, but yeah, I think it's kind of wild that they're full steam ahead with the UFC fights, and they do have to get these sports leagues back. I don't know how the NBA is going to try to get back. I see they're trying to do a horse competition, but is it going to be enough, to, for the viewer? I don't know. I don't know. I think it was just announced a little while ago before I started the show that they're going to have, select players. It was Trae Young, Chris Paul, and Zach LaVine are a few NBA players that I saw, and then they're gonna have WNBA players and then former NBA players play in a horse competition. And I can respect what they're trying to do, and I appreciate it, but I just don't know if it's gonna be enough right now. I just don't know. I don't think it's gonna be enough, and that's sort of the sad thing. Because it was such a great season, and it was sort of... I'm trying to think. like maybe in like 2000, between 2000 and 2010, and probably before 2010, probably 2006, 2005. I was still playing basketball growing up all the way through high school, and I liked the NBA. I loved basketball, but I liked the NBA. I loved college basketball more than the NBA because and I still almost do to this day. I still love college. It's kind of crazy how it shifted. When I was a kid, I kind of, I thought I could play college. I was like, oh, you can just go to any kind of school like that and, play college. And then, once you kind of get to 7th, 8th grade and, freshman year of high school, you kind of realize, you're not as good or not as tall or athletic as you need to, be a D1 athlete, but maybe, D2 or D3. But then, those aspirations kind of go to the wayside real quick. But at that point, you love college basketball, March Madness. It's the fans, the college game day, the shows, everything about it. And something about like when you like, there's like a certain shift, I think, like in that time where you kind of see what the NCAA is, how like they're making all this money from these schools, whether it's in programs like football, like the football program, how you see like LSU's making $56 million or something like that in a season a couple of years ago in the football program, just football alone, and that's enough to pay for all these other sports in a college's program, athletic program, that take losses. Like almost every other sport, takes a loss, but the football program in these D1 schools, especially these big conferences, you see how much they make, and like they do these football programs fund these other sports, and you kind of realize obviously the importance of them, especially with the TV deals and all that. But like you just see how much money is being made, and then you realize, wait, the athletes aren't getting any of it. It's just the NCAA, these random guys who, these random old folks who are, sitting on their couches at home probably watching these games and making all this money off these kids' backs. All like, that's not right. And there's that certain shift where you go from where probably like 2005 to 2010, obviously it's that 5-year period where I really shifted into being an NBA fan, and and the NBA started to gain prominence on it. And then you see like the decline of the MLB a little bit with steroids and all that, with when they're going through Congress or whatever, and Balco and Bonds, McGuire, all those guys, Sammy Sosa, he's that guy. That's a whole other topic for a whole other day. But no, you just you kind of you see where like your interest lies, I guess. And yeah, so I think like the NBA, this was like a banner year. I really believe so. And it was kind of like I believe 2010, like that finals when it was Lakers Celtics and Kobe Bryant's Lakers, versus Paul Pierce and KG, and R.I.P. to Kobe, God bless. But yeah, it was Kobe and like Powell, the Lakers, and against, that was like unbelievable series. I believe it won 7 games, and yeah, so like this, not to say that like the past few years of the NBA haven't been incredible, because this entire past decade has been, from 2010 to 2020. You really see how the NBA has made an incredible leap in popularity globally. Not just in the United States, but just globally. And just to see, how everything sort of evened out finally in like a dynamic duo way. How not every team, but the teams in major markets had great duos. Minus the Knicks, because James Dolan can't get his shit together. But most of the teams in these big markets, and teams that even teams that aren't aren't really ones that you consider like fan favorites. Like you gain interest in them, like Dallas Mavericks when you have. Obviously, like the Mavericks, they do have fans for sure, but when you have a duo like Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, it's 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 hard not to like. I can root for him, I really could, and I'm not even, and I do like Mark Cuban too. I respect Mark Cuban; he's a great owner, but yeah, just seeing some like a duo like that, and they're spread throughout the league, and just to see this NBA season cut short in such a way when it was bleeding and it was such a great build into the playoffs. It's a tough thing, and I don't know how I don't know how they're gonna try to get back on track. I know that there's so many like discussions that I think that they're trying to have right now with should we whether it's have like a 5 or 10 or 15 game runway for the last regular season to try to get that local TV money, because that's the big thing in all this is the local TV money. You got to realize is that like they need that local TV money. I believe they hit 72 or 70 games. I believe it's 70 games to get that local television money, and that's how the owners make their money. A majority of the revenue, I wouldn't say majority, but a good amount of their revenue, and so they're trying to hit that mark, but at the same time, they don't want to run into that time where the NFL's starting its regular season and they have to compete against the NFL in ratings on TV, because then they won't earn as much, and you'll see that viewers, they'll obviously see a precipitous, I believe that's the correct word, a drop in viewers, and they're obviously aware of that, so they're trying to get it in, but I believe before August or September. But I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see what their plan is, and to hold fans over. I don't know if the horse is gonna be enough. I don't know if this horse competition is gonna be enough, and I respect that. I respect the idea. I respect that especially who they have. I like Chris Paul and Trae Young and Zach LaVine. Like those are all great players, but I don't know if it's gonna be enough, really. And it's sad to say, because like this season was so incredible, and just to have it end. But obviously, there are more important things. Obviously, not to make light of a pandemic, because you can't right now. You can't even really go outside of the house. That's why I'm doing this in my backyard, really. But you can't make light of a pandemic, but at the same time, like you can't even describe how much of a robbery I'm sure these players feel, and even fans. I'm sure how fans feel at this point. It's I mean, there's some decisions they're gonna have to make down in New York, and I'm sure Adam Silver he's getting on to. I'm sure he's trying to get it together. But I'm trying to do this show a little more, often. I think right now, just with my setup, it's probably gonna try to be like a weekly thing. And even so, like it's I'm still, as I mentioned earlier in the show, that I have to get my setup down a little bit more. But that's not even really what's most important right now. I think what was most important for me was just starting this and just starting the second show. As you can see, even the sun's going down on me right now. We've lost light here a little bit. But no, it was just important to do the second show. And, I'm trying to find a way or ways to make it more unique and creative. Like, what can I do, like, for clips, you know, and like what stories I can tell. Um, I mean, I can tell any story I want, you know. But I think of what, I'm trying to find just certain ways to put more content out, but at the same time, work my way up to getting a better production. That's why I want to have, like, one or two shows, probably one show really right now a week. And even at this point, a 45 minute show, I'm doing this all solo. I'm setting it up, obviously, and editing and putting it out, but it takes a lot even just to do the 45 minute show. But that's kind of, I think that's right now, that's kind of what my bare minimum. I'm trying to do at least 40 minutes, I think, right now. And even still, there's going to be times where, I think even 40 minutes, like, I don't even know if I'll even reach that, like half hour, but I thought I had my drink here somewhere. I know I have a drink around here. I keep licking my lips over here. I need a drink. What happened to it? Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I just want to find a way to make it more creative and, separate myself kind of with just telling certain stories and having certain clips and, and even with my clips, I want to just, like, kind of almost introduce segments, sort of like what an actual, like, TV, what an actual TV show would do. Almost not like a rundown, but just talk about certain topics, I guess. And in clip form, sort of outside of a podcast, like I'm doing now. And another one of my hopes was that I was really hoping to eventually have guests on. That's one thing that I think I would. I gotta tell you one thing about this low. I wouldn't even say low budget, because it's not really low budget. It really wasn't. It really isn't, I should say. It's, one thing about it, though, is that, I kind of have to, you'll probably notice, I had to kind of break it up. I believe it's every, like, 12 minutes or 14 minutes. Just because the camera times out, I believe. At least the one I have right now at that point, but I got to actually get up and get a drink, so I'm going to keep going. I'm feeling refreshed and replenished. Shout out to, I believe it's Proper 12. Conor McGregor's Proper 12 there. No sponsorship yet. Hopefully one day, Conor, we can work that out. If you saw my 5 or 6 bottles on the room. What? No, but, yeah. I'm trying to, there's so many things I'm trying to do with this, and trying to make sure I haven't, like, definitely, like, certain clips, and, like, tell certain stories and have certain segments and talk about, a variety of things. Like, I think I mentioned this in the first show. I want to talk about, like, sports and culture, comedy, entertainment, music. I want to do music reviews. I want to do music reactions. I want to react to new music that I haven't heard, or new music that was just released, or music that some of the people out there might recommend for me to react to or listen to, or review. I want to get into all this, and this is stuff that I've been trying to do for such a long time. And I think I did my initial. I think I did a reaction to Kids See Ghosts, the Kanye West and Kid Cudi collab album that they released in 2018. And I did a little reaction to that, and I thought, I did it in my parents' basement at the time, and that was when I was really, really gonna try to start Living Color, and And then I kind of realized, you definitely need a mic, and you need, at least, a couple real, little things. And I was kind of far away from, that at that point, or even really planning or budgeting out for that. And, the idea was there, but to kind of react and review like albums and new music at the time, and it's something I'm definitely still trying to do, and I'm definitely gonna do a lot more. There's so much that's like happening though that it's hard to kind of keep track of it all, and it's not even with music. That's not even like there's no real like main focus of this. I guess the only main focus is to just to talk. I guess to talk with people and just express how I feel, and talk about just I guess life. Everything and anything. And one thing that I eventually want to do is eventually want to have guests on. I want to have like my friends on, and like people that I look up to, and I'm not really like planning on or expecting anything like that right now, but that's something I'm trying to eventually get started, and I hope to eventually like later this year, and I hope eventually sort of when this sort of slows down a little bit, that I can actually do that and have people on. But that's like a whole other thing I'm trying to figure out, is like if I were to have guests on, how would I do it? Would I have them in person, if they were in Colorado at the time potentially, or if it wasn't, if it was like virtual, would it be like an app, or anything like that. But another thing that I was I'm really trying to do, because I'm inspired by like a lot of different things. That's a lot of different shows really on the internet at this point. Way more so than TV, really. And it's kind of been like that for a while. I'm sure I'm not the only one who feels like that, but I'm inspired by shows like Church of What's Happening Now with Joey Diaz and Lee Syatt. Shout out to those guys. Joe Rogan Experience, obviously. Brilliant Idiots, Andrew Schultz, Charlemagne the God. Shout out to those guys. A whole lot of Kill Tony. There's so many of them. Monday Morning Podcast, Bill Burr, even Your Mom's House. Tom Segura, all those guys. Tom Segura, Chris D'Elia, Fighter and the Kid. Brandon Schaub, Brian Cowan. Chris D'Elia. So many. Congratulations to Chris. There's so many podcasts like that, and those guys all inspire me. And I'm not trying to be one of them. I'm not trying to be like them, but I'm trying to take my I'm trying to kind of grab my inspiration from them, and then try to figure out how I can be new and unique, and kind of have my own lane. And that's sort of with like a variety of things, like in a variety of interests and topics, and like sports and comedy, entertainment, music, culture, whatever's happening in the world, all that kind of melted in one. And that's I think all those guys all have like this similar interest, kind of in one way or another. And I'm trying to find my I'm trying to just kind of hone my own, and figure out my own way in this. And I don't know how I'm gonna do this every week. That's kind of, but I think that's kind of the exciting thing, because even right now I'm just kind of going off the top of my head. Every kind of 12, 14 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever, whenever that thing kind of clicks out, and I have to stand up and restart it and stop the recording, and get back to whatever I was saying, or try to remember whatever the hell I was saying before. I just I kind of regroup, and I'm like, all right, it's kind of it's kind of like a refresher, and that's kind of what's in what the nice thing is about, the low budget at this point. But at the same time, I do, I have so many, like, my aspirations. One of them is to eventually live stream. Because that was one of the reasons why, I fell in love with, like, the Joe Rogan experience so much, like, a few years ago. Was that, he was going live with so many guests every day for hours. And they were just talking about anything and everything. And, doing whatever they want and just having, like, a bunch of fun. And there was, thousands of people watching it. It was amazing. And you felt like you were part of something special. And, that's one thing about the live stream that I'm going to eventually try to do. So, I'm excited to start this. And even still, like, we're already up, almost 46 minutes now. And, there's no real time restraint for any of this. And, eventually, what I wanted to do is eventually turn this into, like, my main career, and eventually, like, maybe tour live and do it places and have, have guests and live, and, eventually there's just so many ideas that I have for this. Like, not only tour it and do it live, but also up on the deck, you can't really see at this point, but like with the view of Red Rocks, where I did, like, the first show at, eventually I want to, like, kind of mix in a little bit of music there, performing music, because I play guitar. I play a lot of guitar lately, past couple of years. Yeah, I know. Self-taught, really, and, I have, like, my little beat pad that I use Ableton with and can mix a little bit, and, I want to eventually, like, go live with that and then switch between, doing, like, a show podcast, for maybe, however much time, 10, 20 minutes, half hour, and then switch to music maybe for a music mix for 20, 30 minutes, and then, switch back to talking for 20, 30 minutes, and then, switch to music, and, just, like, mix it in a whole lot. There's so many things that I want to, eventually do with this that I'm excited just to, get started and have, like, the ability and, the time and, like, the aspiration. It's such a, it is a lofty, thing to try to do. I can't. It's easy to get down, I think, with it. I think it's gonna be easy to get down, and it's obviously I kind of learned that by now. It's taken me forever, even just to start this first and second podcast and show, whatever you want to call it. There's that word again. Every time, I'm not afraid to call it a podcast at all. If it were to be labeled that, I would love it. Because that's I feel like it's more important. That's a more important medium than radio right now. Radio is important. Don't get me wrong, and radio is really what when I went to college. Like I was talking about, earlier. When I went to college in 2011, trying to study broadcast media, I originally was like, I love TV and I want to be an anchor, but I want to have my own radio show. And I had my own radio show at WIUV at Castleton, Castleton University's radio station, 91.3 WIUV. And from all 5 years at Castleton, I had a radio show every Thursday night, and I would perform like a 3 or 4 hour mix. And I would, it's kind of what essentially like a earlier version of what I'm doing now, like almost like to a T. I would perform. I would have like I would have a mic, and I have like the airwaves, obviously, big soundboard, and then I can have like just like they kind of like play you into like the time zone, or like it turns to dead air, it just turns silent, and then you come on, obviously, and I loved having a radio show. I would just talk and then just mix my music. I sometimes would play original WDY music, and I would just perform like a set every week, once a week, and I love and I miss it. I miss doing that. But at the same time, I'm trying to do exactly that, but in like a different form, and like a new and improved form, and that's what I'm trying to do with this. But it's gonna take a little while, and it's gonna look. I think it's gonna look. It is. It is. It's gonna take a little while, and it's gonna look a little weird. I think, no doubt, it is gonna look a little weird, as you can tell. I mean, I got adjust the lighting, and I'm doing it in my backyard with the valley shot here, and it's gonna look a little weird, but I wouldn't want to do anything else at this point, and I'm excited to start this, but I just thought I'd wrap this up with saying, I just hope that you're, still being, maintaining positivity at this point. I know it's hard being cooped up inside all this time, but I hope you're still, trying to be positive and trying to improve yourself, like finding things that you've wanted to do for a long time, or you've always wanted to do, and doing those, or just learning new things, or improving your life, and even if that means just getting outside and just walking around and not sitting on the freaking couch all day, because even me, like, it's taken me a lot to even just do the second one here. Like, I could have just it was a beautiful day all day today, and I was just chilling on the porch and sipping a little bit, as I'm sure, but I don't know. I just hope that you're doing well and trying to still be happy and still be positive. But it's a wild time, and I'm sure it's only gonna get wilder. I know they keep saying, it seems like every other day they're saying, this is gonna be, the worst week, or this is a critical week. But you really do gotta listen to the medical professionals and the people who've been doing this their whole lives and studying this stuff. You really gotta listen to those people and listen to their advice. But at the same time, it can't stop you from living your life. That's the key. I think you gotta continue to improve yourself, continue to try to be happy, continue to maintain your positivity, and continue to do what you want to do, and use this time, like utilize this time as like a free time, or it's like time where they're just giving it to you to here's time where that you've been working hard all these years. Here's this time where you can finally use it to do what you want to do. I know you can't go anywhere. I know you can't leave the house, but if you're in your house and you got stuff that you've always wanted to do, that you can do in your house, do it now. Like maybe learn a language, anything. Like learn guitar, anything. Play guitar. Do whatever do. Even if that could mean just sitting on your ass and sitting on the couch or whatever. It doesn't matter. Do what you want to do. But that's it, and that's that. You just gotta be positive, keep being happy, and I'm gonna try to do the same. I'm gonna try to be happy, try to be positive. I know it's tough for me, and it's not easy for me either. But I think now more than ever, it's about doing what you want, and not settling, and not just getting down and being down all the time, because it's easy to be down. You can be down all, you could be down your whole life if you want. You could just be bummed out and woe is me and sit around on the couch, or you could just use this time, do what you've always wanted to do, or just relax or recoup, anything, just anything. So that's it. That's that. I hope you guys are doing well. I hope you're, like I said, I hope you're happy. I hope you're staying positive, and I hope to catch you again soon. I hope to record again soon here in the coming days again. I hope. But until the next time I see you, I'm gonna sign off here. Take care of yourselves. Be happy. Be positive. And that's it. That's that. Take care of yourselves. Signing off here. Thank you for listening. I appreciate you. Good night.